The phone rang at 6:47 a.m. "Mr. Garrison, your daughter has been arrested for murder." I almost hung up. My daughter had been dead for 31 years. "You've got the wrong man," I said. "Jennifer Garrison," the detective replied, 48. Gray-blue eyes with green flecks, crescent moon birthmark on her left shoulder blade. "She says you used to call it her lucky moon." The phone slipped from my hand. Nobody knew about that birthmark. Nobody but family. "Who did she kill?" I whispered. "Your brother, sir, Richard Garrison." My dead daughter had killed my best friend, the man who had helped me search for Jenny for 3 years straight and held me when we buried that empty casket in 1996. My dead daughter had killed him, and she was asking for me. If you believe being family doesn't excuse evil ever, subscribe and stay with me to the end, because what my brother did was only half the truth. My name is William Garrison. I'm 68 years old, retired from 35 years as a high school history teacher, and until that phone call, I thought I knew exactly who I was. A father who had lost a daughter, a husband who had somehow held his marriage together through unimaginable grief, a brother who owed everything to the family that had carried him through the worst years of his life. Jennifer had been 17 when she disappeared, December 14, 1993. She'd told us she was going to a friend's house, but she'd actually gone to meet a boy, an older guy, 23, who worked at a garage on the east side of Vancouver. They'd had a fight. He'd left her at a bus stop on Hastings Street at 11 p.m., angry and alone in one of the worst parts of the city. She never came home. For 3 years, we searched. Posters, police, private investigators we couldn't afford. My wife Margaret stopped sleeping. I stopped everything that wasn't work or searching. Our marriage nearly collapsed under the weight of it. Richard saved us. My younger brother, a real estate developer with money and connections, threw me a lifeline, paid for investigators, helped distribute flyers, held me and my wife together through the worst of it. I'd always trusted Richard more than I trusted myself. He was the one with the money, the instincts, the real-world experience. When he said the police were doing all they could, I believed him. When he told me a lead was a dead end, I dropped it. In 1996, they found remains, female, approximately 17 to 19 years old. The dental records were inconclusive, but there was other evidence, a jacket, a ring. The forensics team said they were 70% certain. 70% was enough. We held the memorial service, buried an empty casket, tried to move on. Richard was there for that too. He'd given the eulogy when I couldn't speak. Now he was dead, and my daughter, alive, after 31 years, was the one who had killed him. I drove to Vancouver alone. I needed to see this myself first. The police station was a gray concrete block in the downtown core. In the elevator, a memory surfaced uninvited. Richard, the night Jenny disappeared. He'd been at our house when the police arrived, already there before we'd even called him. I thought he was just being supportive. Now I wondered, how did he know to come? Detective Sarah Chen met me in the lobby. Late 40s, tired eyes, the look of someone who'd seen too much but hadn't quite given up yet. "Before you see her, Mr. Garrison, I need to tell you a few things." She led me to a small conference room. "Jennifer isn't denying the killing. She's admitted to stabbing your brother 4 times with a kitchen knife. She waited at the scene until police arrived. She's cooperating fully with our investigation." "Why?" The word came out cracked. "Why would she?" "She says he deserved it. That's all she'll tell us." Chen studied my face. "She says she'll only explain the rest to you." They brought me to an interview room. Institutional lighting, metal table bolted to the floor, and sitting across from me in orange jail scrubs was my daughter. She was 48 now. Gray streaked her auburn hair. Her face was lined with years I hadn't witnessed, but her eyes, gray-blue with flecks of green, those were Jenny's eyes, looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Dad." I sat down hard. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. "Jenny, I know you have questions." Her voice was steady, controlled, not the voice of someone who just committed murder, but maybe the voice of someone who'd been preparing for this moment for a very long time. "I need you to listen to the whole story before you decide what you think of me." "Did you kill him?" I had to ask, even though I already knew the answer. "Yes, Richard. My brother, Richard." "Your brother." Something flickered in her eyes. "What I'm about to tell you, you're not going to want to believe it, but you have to hear it." She took a breath. "I didn't disappear that night. I was taken, and Uncle Richard is the one who sold me." But this is what happened to my daughter, what I eventually came to understand, and what broke me open in ways I'm still trying to heal. Richard had been in financial trouble in 1993. His real estate developments were failing. He owed money to dangerous people, and he'd found a way to pay off his debts. He'd been grooming Jenny for months before she disappeared. Small things at first, special attention, gifts, making her feel like he was the only adult who really understood her. Then, slowly, carefully, introducing her to friends who were actually buyers. The night she disappeared, she hadn't gone to meet that boyfriend at all. That was a cover story Richard had helped her create. She'd actually gone to meet Richard himself, who told her he was taking her to a surprise party. He delivered her to a trafficking ring that operated in the downtown East Side for $50,000. "I was with them for 3 years," Jenny said, her voice flat. "Moved between different locations, different situations. I tried to forget who I was. It was easier that way." "But someone helped you escape?" She nodded. "A woman named Marie Chen, no relation to the detective. She worked at one of the houses where they kept us. She wasn't a good person exactly. She was part of it. But she had limits. And when she found out how young I really was, when she realized I had a family who was actually searching for me," Jenny's voice cracked for the first time. "She saw one of your posters, Dad, the ones with my school photo. She recognized me, and she decided to get me out." Marie had helped Jenny escape in 1996. Given her money, new identity documents, a place to stay. But she'd also warned her. The people who had bought her were connected. If Jenny came forward, if she went to the police or tried to contact her family, they'd know, and they'd come for her. "Why didn't you come home?" I couldn't keep the anguish out of my voice. "After you were free? Why didn't you come home?" Jenny looked at me with something like pity. "Because I knew who had sold me, Dad. I knew it was Uncle Richard, and I knew you would never believe me over him." The words hit me like a physical blow. Because she was right. If she had come to me in 1996, traumatized and confused, claiming that my devoted brother, the man who had helped me search for her, who had paid for investigators, who had held me together, if she had claimed he was the one who sold her to traffickers, what would I have done? I would have assumed she was confused, that the trauma had broken something in her mind. I would have defended Richard, and I would have lost her all over again. "So you stayed away," I said. "I stayed close." She smiled, and there was something heartbreaking in it. "I've lived in Vancouver this whole time, Dad, under different names. I watched you. I watched David and Michael grow up. I was at David's college graduation. I was outside the church when Michael got married. You were there? I was always there. I just couldn't touch you, couldn't come home. Not while Richard was still part of the family, not while he was still pretending to be the hero who helped you search for me, when he was the one who made me disappear. Then why now? I asked. After 31 years, why did you? Because he was doing it again. Jenny's expression went cold. I've been watching him too, Dad, for years. He got better at hiding it, but he never stopped. I have evidence, documents, recordings, witness statements. He was connected to at least 12 girls over the past 3 decades. Some of them are still missing. Last month, he started grooming a new girl, 15 years old, daughter of one of his business partners. Her hands clenched on the table. I couldn't let him take another one. I tried going to the police with what I had, but there wasn't enough for an arrest, not enough to stop him in time. So you stopped him yourself. I stopped him myself. Over the next 3 weeks, I treated my life like one of the history cases I used to teach. I called Chen every day. I dug through old files, tax returns, anything with Richard's signature on it, and sent copies to her. One afternoon, she slid a folder across the table to me in an interview room. "You should see this," she said. On top was a photocopy of a check. $50,000, dated December 13, 1993. Memo line, consulting fee. H. Navarro. Navarro was arrested in 2004 for human trafficking, Chen said. My brother's signature sat at the bottom of the page, the same steady hand that had signed my wedding license. From there, the investigation widened. More financial records, communication logs, witness testimonies from other survivors who had been too afraid to come forward until now. Marie came in one afternoon, older and smaller than Jenny remembered, to give her statement. She couldn't look me in the eye. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, "but I can give you names." It didn't erase what she'd done, but it helped. I remembered something then. A locked room in Richard's basement he'd always said was for business storage. I'd never questioned it. Now I called Detective Chen. "There's a room," I said. "Third door past the furnace. He never let anyone inside." They found things I can't bring myself to describe. My brother, the man I had loved and trusted for 60 years, the man who had carried me through my darkest moments. He had been a monster wearing a human mask, and I had never seen it. When the search teams cleared out, the talk shifted from what they'd found to what would happen to what he'd left behind. His houses, his company, his money. "His assets will pass to his next of kin," Chen said. "You, his sons, maybe some business partners, depending on the will." I thought of 12 unnamed girls. I thought of Jenny, 17 forever, in the photo on our missing posters. "Then I don't want a cent," I said. "Freeze everything you can. If his money bought this, his money can help pay for it." It was the first clear decision I'd made since the phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Margaret took the news badly. Not because she didn't believe it. She believed it almost immediately, with a certainty that shook me. "I always felt something was wrong with him," she told me, crying. "I just thought I was being paranoid. Our sons flew in from Ontario. David and Michael, 45 and 42 now, meeting the sister they'd thought was dead since they were teenagers. Those reunions were complicated, painful, beautiful. If you've ever seen a family man hide behind his name while hurting people in the dark, tap like and subscribe, because we don't look away when the truth gets ugly." But something else was happening to me during those weeks, something I'd been ignoring. The fatigue that had plagued me for months, the weight I'd lost without trying, the persistent cough I'd blamed on allergies. 2 days after Jenny's bail hearing, I collapsed in the hospital parking lot. They admitted me immediately, ran tests, sat me down in a room with soft lighting and tissue boxes strategically placed. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer. 6 months at best. I laughed when they told me. The doctor looked horrified, but I couldn't help it. After everything, after losing my daughter, mourning her for 3 decades, learning she was alive, learning my brother was a monster. Now this. The universe had a vicious sense of humor. I didn't tell Margaret right away. I needed to do something else first. That night in the hospital, I lay awake listening to the machines and made a list in my head. I couldn't change what Richard had done to Jenny, but I could make sure his story didn't end with a clean obituary and a quiet burial. Whatever time I had left was going to 2 things: helping my daughter stay free and making sure every girl he'd ever hurt was written into the record. I went to see Jenny. She'd been released on bail, pending trial. She was staying at a women's shelter, working with lawyers who were building her defense. The evidence against Richard was damning enough that prosecutors were already discussing reduced charges, voluntary manslaughter, maybe even justifiable homicide. I found her in the shelter's garden, sitting on a bench with her face turned toward the sun. She looked peaceful in a way I hadn't seen before, like a weight had been lifted. "I'm dying," I told her. She didn't cry, didn't protest, just moved over on the bench so I could sit beside her. "How long?" 6 months, maybe less. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I spent 31 years preparing to hate you for not saving me, for not seeing what Richard really was, for choosing him over me, even if it was only in my imagination. And now? Now, I have 6 months to figure out how to love you instead." The trial was expedited, given my condition. Jenny's lawyers argued self-defense and defense of others. The prosecution, faced with mountains of evidence about Richard's crimes, didn't push back hard. She received 3 years probation. No prison time. I testified at the sentencing hearing. Told the judge about the brother I thought I knew. Told him about the years of searching, the agony of hope and despair. Told him that my daughter had done what I should have been able to do, protect her, and that I would spend whatever time I had left trying to make up for failing. After the sentencing, life shrank down to what fit inside our house. The months that followed were the strangest and most precious of my life. The months that followed were the strangest and most precious of my life. Jenny moved into our spare room. She wasn't ready to get her own place, said she'd been alone long enough. Margaret fussed over her, making cinnamon rolls every Saturday morning, trying to recreate the childhood Jenny had lost. The rolls never came out quite right. Too dense, not enough frosting. But Jenny ate them anyway, and sometimes I'd catch her crying over them when she thought no one was looking. We talked for hours. She told me about the years I'd missed, the jobs she'd worked, the people she'd met, the therapists who'd helped her piece herself back together. I told her about her brothers, about the grandchildren she was just beginning to know, about the life our family had built in the shadow of her absence. I also apologized, over and over, even when she told me to stop. "You couldn't have known," she said one afternoon. We were sitting in the backyard, watching the spring flowers push through the soil. I was in a wheelchair by then, too weak to walk far. "I should have known. I was your father. Protecting you was my one job, and I failed." "No." She took my hand. "Richard failed. The system that let him operate failed. The people who looked the other way failed. But you, Dad, you never stopped looking for me. You never stopped loving me. I watched you light a candle on my birthday every year. I saw you visit that empty grave on the anniversary of my disappearance. You saw that? I was there every time, watching from the parking lot, wishing I could go to you." Her grip tightened on my hand. The thing that kept me alive, Dad, the thing that kept me sane through everything was knowing that somewhere out there you were still fighting for me. Even when you thought I was dead, even when there was no hope left, you never stopped. I couldn't speak, couldn't see through the tears. So no more apologies, she said. We have 6 months. Let's not waste them on guilt. We didn't. The time went fast, too fast. But we filled it with everything we could. Family dinners that went late into the night, road trips to places Jenny remembered from childhood, long conversations about nothing and everything. Near the end, when I was bedridden and the hospice nurse had moved in, Jenny stayed by my side. She read to me. Narnia books like I used to read to her. She did all the different voices, even though she wasn't very good at it. "Do you remember the treehouse?" I asked her one night. My voice was barely a whisper by then. "The one you built even though you were terrified of heights?" She smiled. "I remember. I would have climbed Everest for you." "I know, Dad." She squeezed my hand. "I always knew. I died on a Tuesday in April, with my daughter holding one hand and my wife holding the other. But I didn't die broken. I died knowing the truth. Knowing that Jenny was free, that she was safe, that she was finally home, and knowing that sometimes, even when we fail the people we love, even when the monsters are closer than we ever imagined, it's still possible to find redemption, not for what we did, for what we do with the time we have left. Before I died, Jenny promised me 3 things. First, that she would never keep quiet again just to keep a family name clean. Second, that every dollar Richard left behind would be dragged into the light. With the prosecutor's help, Margaret and I signed away our claims, and his developments were sold off to fund counseling, housing, and legal aid for trafficking survivors in Vancouver. A small repayment, but more useful than another stone with his name on it. Third, that she would use what she'd learned, the worst of it, to help other girls get out. When the pain led her, she started speaking to small groups, then shelters, then classrooms. She told the truth about men like my brother. I didn't live to see all of it, but I saw enough to know that Richard didn't get the last word. Jenny did. Thank you for listening to the story my daughter helped me tell before I passed. If this hits something in you, if you believe it's never too late to face the truth and try to make it right, subscribe and share this with one person who needs to hear it. And if you have your own story about family, secrets, or second chances, put it in the comments. My family is reading everyone, and you're not as alone as you think.